Well, what's behind all this coup d'etat and this Bush is purposely going to be discredited? This article coming out of Joseph Farah, WorldNet Daily. Remember, Joseph Farah is a National Council for National Policy member. He is a provocateur. He's calling for another revolution in his book, Next Revolution. Remember that when you read anything fear, war, and fear-mongering that's coming from his webpage. He is a plant by them to scare us, to do whatever, as Alex Jones is possibly too, as much as I like to get information from both of them to find out what's going on. But this is a man named Don Boys, who's an author, who says that you officials should be urging us to prepare for a nuclear holocaust and that we should be getting guns and gold and food and water and prepare for an attack here on our country. And we'll talk about that some other time. But that's the kind of information we have to. That's why we have Barbara on, because this all connects. This all goes back. This all has a history. And this what's happening today has all started one particular time, and there's many groups out there and front groups that are out there. And Barbara, we just appreciate all your work that you've done to help expose the conspiracy.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad to be here.
I was going over your Noahide law recently, under the law article, and basically reading that on May 25th, 1993, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution with the International Criminal Tribunal, and our, of course, president signed it into law and signed in basically the Noahide laws into universal laws. Is that what this article's about?
Yes, Noahide laws were proposed by the Lubavitch organization, which all of the presidents, Republican presidents from Nixon onward, were friends with. And these are basically 6 laws or 7 laws.
I was going to say 7, yeah.
7 laws which the Orthodox Jews teach their people that the Gentiles must obey. Of course, Freemasons are considered Noahide. They're exempt from this because they're under the system of the Judeo-Freemasonry. But these Noahide laws have gained such acceptance in the government, and even George Bush Jr. has met with the Lubavitch Rebbe. But these are the laws when the Jewish Antichrist ascends the throne of a rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. These are the laws that are going to be imposed upon the Gentile world. And these laws, I think the second or third law is the prohibition of idolatry. And of course, in Judaism, Christians are considered to be idolaters because we worship Jesus Christ.
And the Noahide laws were possibly the same laws they used, of course, to kill Jesus and also to kill the disciples?
Well, I don't know if they existed then, but they did consider Jesus to be a blasphemer. He made himself equal to be God, and he was God. They didn't...
Well, they did have laws of that, and with the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees and the Talmud. I mean, they were making it, and they arrested him for that. And the disciples also. They didn't have religious freedom, which is the Noahide law has 0 religious freedom. So you worship what they say or you die.
Well, they claim that the Noahide laws go all the way back to Adam, or I'm sorry.
Noah, yeah.
Noah.
Mm-hmm.
But this, of course, is not true. But if you look in Revelation where the saints are beheaded for the Word of God and for their testimony of Jesus Christ, the manner of their death is beheading, and this is the penalty for disobedience of even one of the Noahide laws.
Well, you see they're getting the military in place to be able to enact the Noahide laws or enforce the Noahide laws. How else could they ever enforce them if they don't have enough military right here ready to do it?
Absolutely, and they're profiling and they are databasing the whole population, have been for decades.
Right, and
the way they did in the Holocaust, and they know where the Christians are.
The military did that and, through Vietnam. Any dissenters of the government, they were getting their names and address and phone numbers and labeling them as, and we've already, through the Megiddo Project, been labeled as terrorists and needing government intervention. So, and if we get real upset when we start finding out, when they start allowing, purposely, part of the planned event, to allow people to start seeing what George Bush has done and what our government's been doing for years, when it starts coming out, Americans are going to get very upset. And Christians are going to, the ones that have been deceived all these years, are going to be upset. And they might start doing things that might have an appearance of evil and cause the arresting and the beheading or killing of Christians and prisoning them.
Yes, because Christians have allied themselves with George Bush. And the way the rest of the world sees America and evangelical Christians is through George Bush. He talks about being a Christian, and this is how they believe Christians act. Of course, George Bush is an agent provocateur, and he's leading the sheep to the slaughter.
What do you think about Joseph Farah's WorldNet Daily and his provocateur measures, and a lot of fear-mongering about this new Hiroshima bomb that could possibly go off in America? And even Mobile Press, we had an editorial that next 90 days we could have a big nuclear bomb go off, or dirty nuke go off in one of our cities.
Well, of course, Joseph Farah is a member of the Council for National Policy. This is an organization that was formed to control the right-wing conservative Christians. They set policy for the Christian right. In my view, they are professional agitators. Mm-hmm. Anyone who belongs to that organization is there to take the Christians, who normally are a peace-loving people, and to foment rebellion against the government, to agitate them, to cause them to fear that their government is doing this or that. And this is the way revolutions happen. The masses are agitated and polarized, and they side up on one side or another. And the enemy, of course, is the liberals, the leftists, the commies, whoever they say the enemy is. And, of course, the left considers us the enemy, and everyone is missing who the real enemy is. That's the people at the top who are pulling all the strings.
That's right. Amen. That's for sure. Here I'm looking at Public Law 102-14, Resolution 104, March 20th, 1991, Education Day, U.S. Proclamation, a joint resolution to designate March 21st as Education Day. But in that, whereas Congress recognizes historical traditions of ethical values and principles, which our country's civilized society and nation was founded, and whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock for society in the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the 7 Noahide Laws. Can you believe that's in our law? I can't believe it. Whereas these ethical values and principles of the ed of civilization stand in perilous of returning to chaos. And so here they're enacting the our House of Representatives on 1991, the Noahide Laws.
Well,
that's quite interesting.
Those laws are on the books now. They haven't acted on them, but, given the right provocation, which they're going to do one of these days, they will have the legal right to enact these laws.
Well, do you think the John Birch Society folks and the Dominionist Constitution Party folks out there, the Calvinists, would like the Noahide laws to be put in place?
Well, you have to realize who the people are behind the John Birch Society and the so-called right wing. They're not really right-wingers. They're not true conservatives. They're really power elites who want to take over. And so are you asking, do they want the Noahide laws?
Yeah.
Yes, they do want them in place, because this is their right to eliminate the people that they don't want. Well,
that's what we're going to talk about today, the John Birch Society a little bit, and maybe the leader of the Council for National Policy, one of the leaders, Howard Phillips, and many of his conservative, so-called conservative groups that he started. But go ahead and start, and I'll let you just talk.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll get to Howard Phillips. I might touch on him. There's so much here.
Yeah, just do the John Birch today, then.
Okay. The John Birch Society, big topic. John Birch Society, of course, was the point of origin of the entire array of white right-wing organizations that we see today. And the John Birch Society was a controlled opposition movement. I just want to read a quote by Anton Chaikin, which he wrote in one of his exposés. There are a lot of little brothers watching Big Brother. The quote refers to George Orwell's novel 1984, in which the dictatorial government, Big Brother, created false opposition movements secretly under its control. Orwell's novel is modeled on British Empire practice, as in Kenya, where the British set up ineffective opposition to colonialism as counter-gangs to subvert true independence movements. And the thing about false opposition movements, that they are operated. I've stopped quoting from Anton Chaikin, but they are secretly controlled by people who are part of the very opposition that they claim to be against. And their purpose is to render any opposition to their agenda as ineffective and to subvert any opposition that would arise, true opposition that would arise among the people that they are trying to control. Now, the John Birch Society was founded in 1958 by Robert Welch, who is believed to have been a 32nd degree Mason. About 20 years later, there was an expose of the John Birch Society published called the Belmont Brotherhood. This was in 1977 that a group of former high-ranking John Birch members wrote this expose of the National Council at Belmont, Massachusetts. Now, that was where the John Birch headquarters were originally located. The expose profiles 13 of the John Birch founding council members and some of the later Birch figures that were on the board of the American Opinion magazine. Now, these 13 John Birch council members, the founding members of the John Birch Society, all of them were either high-ranking Freemasons or connected directly with the Federal Reserve System, or else they were Council on Foreign Relations members. All of their credentials were the credentials of liberal, global totalitarians and power elites. Well, when these researchers who worked for Robert Welch and these National Council discovered this, they were very angry, and they wrote the Belmont Brotherhood. And the head of this committee was Nicholas Bove. He analyzed the whole situation at the end of the Belmont Brotherhood expose. He wrote, "You may object. Look at all the great things Robert Welch has done. He has exposed the Illuminati." Baloney. The Illuminati was merely a branch of the conspiracy. How can one attack the Illuminati without attacking the diabolical power behind it, organized Freemasonry? Welch